This is Making Stitches, and this time my guest is Kit Giroux, the 2025 Great British Sewing Bee semi-finalist. I was invited to Kit's Manchester home to chat about making your own clothes, sewing bee of course, and I even got to touch a real-life garment of the week.
And then we've got the paper dress.
The famous.
Which has got a tearing attitude now, because I ironed it for a WI tour. But yeah, the paper dress.
Wow.
So you can kind of have a feel of it if you want to.
I will do.
Yeah. So it's just crepe
Goodness.
paper. Yeah. And then on the inside we've got, that's what it looks like on the inside.
Oh wow.
Hello and welcome to Making Stitches. I'm Lindsay. I've loved making things for as long as I can remember. I learned to sew, knit and crochet as a child, and a love of making has been with me all my life. I also love hearing people's stories, so Making Stitches podcast allows me to chat to fascinating creative folk about their creativity. This time I was thrilled to pay Kit Giroux a visit to chat about their sewing adventure. It began in childhood and was picked up again just a year or so before making an appearance on last year's Great British Sewing Bee. Kit didn't mess about, winning the first ever pattern challenge in the first show of the series. Kit went on to win quite a few more challenges, including winning Garment of the Week for a stunning pop art inspired paper dress in week 7, and was joint winner of Garment of the Week the following week with a horror movie themed scarecrow outfit. Away from the Sewing Bee sewing room, Kit has continued to make clothes for their own wardrobe, is currently working on a wedding dress for their sister, and is hoping to release a set of patterns for others to make too. We began our chat speaking about how Kit first started sewing.
So I get asked this quite a lot and I'm never fully sure. And I think the reason is because a lot of things have influenced me, so it's not just been like one tipping point. I've told stories of about going on play dates and having my friend's mum showing me how to sew a cushion. My mum listened to me say that in a podcast and she texted me angrily saying, actually no, your great grandmother was a big so actually you can see here, this is the sewing machine that she had. It's an old Tristan Hoffman wind-up machine. I've got some of her books actually behind me, sewing books. And then obviously you learn some in school. Well, I don't know if they still do it now, but when I was in primary school, they would teach people how to sew. You know, bits like hand puppets, I remember doing that. I definitely self-taught myself a bit. On the Bee, they said I'd only been sewing for about a year, but that's not true. I just picked it back up again for a year. So it's just been something that's been fairly constant in my life. Not like one influence, but I think I like the creativity of it. It's just always resonated with me. That's why I do it.
Yeah, and so it's been a constant thread throughout your life, but it wasn't something
Constant thread?
Do you like it?
Yeah.
It was not something that you chose to pursue as a career, though.
No, and I don't think it will be a career anytime soon. I don't actually think there's a lot of money in it because of fast fashion. Like, if we look back 50 years, you could have a proper role being a tailor, and that could be a genuine career prospect. I don't feel like I could have that now. There are factories around the northeast and the northwest and just the north. There's factories around the north that sew and create clothing, and I think that's a great career that is now actually starting to be an option for people. I feel like I'm not in the place in my life when I can do that, but now that it is, I think if I went back before university and I knew that this was the passion that I'd have, I'd probably go into that. Because I'd love to just sew all the time, every day. It's great.
What does sewing give you? Is it like a creative outlet away from your day-to-day?
I think sewing, it gives me something to do. You know, sewing just gives me something to do that's not the day-to-day. It gives me something that I can sit back, sit down, hunched, over a sewing machine, just probably go into my head and enjoy the process. I think it allows me to slow down, which is important, and it's just a hobby like any other. I don't like video gaming. I've never been into that. I do like exercise, but you can't do exercise for 8 hours a day. I do like cooking, but if I cook too much, I'd probably be fatter than I am. And I did do baking once, but then I think I lost my sweet tooth when I was at uni, which is a crying shame.
Dear me.
I know, awful. But sewing, you can just chip away at it. You can come back to it whenever you want, and you can create something that lasts your lifetime and that you can get a lot of joy out of.
Absolutely. Can you talk me through what you're wearing today?
So I'm wearing, I always bang on about these jeans, but these are my Selvage denim jeans. I made them about a year and a half ago now, maybe just a year ago. I've not washed them yet, so they still look really nice and dark. I think they smell a bit around the crotch, but nobody's going near there. But I can't wait to wash them, because the great thing about denim is wherever it creases, it will show the wear of that when you do wash them for the first time. And then I'm wearing a nice pink linen shirt. It's one of my favourite shirts, just a summer shirt, loose fitting, tucked in, and I'm wearing suspenders. I discovered suspenders about a year ago as well. I was on a trip in Amsterdam, and I've thought about suspenders quite a lot, because the issue with belts is I've got not a huge belly, but I've got a belly. I've got a bit of an overhang when I sit down, so if I'm wearing a belt, it just kind of digs in. And then when I stand up, I have to yank up my trousers to make my bum look good. But suspenders, braces, when you stand up, it does that for you. It doesn't dig into your belly, and I feel like they look quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they create the outfit, don't they?
They create the outfit. I was saying to a work colleague, actually, the other day, that I've noticed, so I make a lot of clothes. I make a lot of clothes, and a lot of clothes that I have made don't fit into my style anymore, so there'll be ones that are really patterned. I love a pattern. I love making clothes with pattern. I mean, you can see my fabric stash.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pattern in there. But I've swayed more to block colours, because I feel like it's simpler for me to just pick that out easily. But what I've noticed is my day-to-day outfit tends to be my Selvage denim jeans, or some jeans, a shirt, a t-shirt, or a tank top, and a nice workwear jacket. I've got about 9 in different colours. And I'm not mad about that. It's clothing that works for me. It works for my everyday life, and it doesn't need to be out there all the time. It just needs to feel me. And I guess a lot of people don't wear bright colours, and so I guess that's my bit of flair on it.
Well, you've got to have something, and that's your signature.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got to talk about what happened last year with the Great British Sewing Bee and your experience with that. How did that all start, from putting in the application? Because that's quite a step, isn't it, deciding to put yourself out there?
It started on this sofa, Lindsay.
Did it really?
Yeah. My flatmate Alistair at the time, we watched it together. We watched it religiously. So I'd watched the Sewing Bee since I was 13. So it came out in 2013. I was 13 then. Figure out my year of birth from that. And I remember watching it every year, loving the show, and thinking, I'd love to do that. And I loved Bake Off as well. Like, I've got all the Bake Off books. Do you remember when they released all the
Yes.
Yeah. And I had all the Sewing Bee books. I think I've got one of them behind me as well. For reference, there's a bookshelf behind me. If I keep mentioning that there's things behind me. And I'd just been picking up sewing for about a year at this time. I started with making a pair of dungarees, then I made loads of jumpsuits. I started making some shirts. Nothing too taxing, nothing too out there. And then we were like, okay, well, I'll apply. Alistair said, apply. I said, okay, we'll do it. Please help me, because I'm terrified of doing applications. So I gave that a go. It was quite an arduous process, with lots of phone calls, lots of video calls, going down to a studio to do like a test run. But I think I wouldn't miss it for the world, because it was so fun, and it gave me something to drive towards. I love a deadline, and I get very productive when there's a deadline, and it was quite exciting doing all of it.
I cannot imagine, especially having watched it from the beginning, having grown up watching it. What was it like on that first day when the doors to the sewing room opened and you walked in with your fellow contestants and got to see Esme and Patrick? What was that like?
I think what was interesting to me was walking through the door. I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, I wasn't like blown away. I was like, oh wow, this is cool. And obviously you put a bit of a face on for the camera. But what was mad to me was I was just so interested about the production behind all of it. So we all walk up to the front. and then we get asked to do that again, and then we do it again, and then there's Patrick, Esme, and Sarah there, and you think they're going to be really close to you. They're like 10 metres away.
Oh, well, they really?
Yeah, it's quite far. I'd say 10 metres, maybe like 5 or 6. But there's a scale of it because there's cameras and they have to change cameras over again. And then Esme says what the pattern challenge is, and then they'll film your reaction, and then they've got to change to a wide lens camera, and she'll say it again, and they have to film your reaction. So you have to duplicate things. And so it was like a glass had shattered, but then you had, like a beautiful stained glass behind it, of just like all the different intricacies that went on behind the scenes. And I kind of love that even more.
I guess it makes you feel like you're part of a secret club, being able to see actually what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, because you get a lot of Sewing Bee adjacent people. So a lot of the people who organise the Knit and Stitch events, who are on the stage, and they talk to Sewing Bee people all the time. And I must imagine that they've got a really great picture of what it's like to be a contestant, but I guess they'll never really fully know, because there's only a handful of us who've done it, which is such a privilege because it was an amazing experience. But it was just really cool. And there's, like any telly, there's a difference between watching it and actually being on the show, and there are obviously kind of good things and bad things, right? Because the whole experience is really intense and people deal with that differently. Mm-hmm. I won't go into like too much detail about that, but everyone deals with actually being on a telly show completely differently. I think a good thing as a reference point is, have you watched that America's Top Model show? The documentary?
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah.
Like watching that, and I was like, you can see how far production has come since then, because they made a real effort to make sure that we were looked after and that we had people to talk to and to make sure stuff like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've lost my train of thought here, but it was just cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. Had a good time. And it was just amazing to see everything behind the scenes and meet everyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got off to a flyer. You won the first challenge of the first episode. And set quite a few more afterwards. But my word, that must have been I can't imagine what that was like.
I couldn't stop smiling. So, when you do the show, they ask you to wear the same outfit for 2 to 3 days of filming. So the first couple of episodes, it's 3 days of filming, and the other ones after that is 2 days of filming, just because there's so many people in the first 2 episodes. So we were wearing the same clothes for 3 days. So I was like, I need to make sure I've got clothes that I can kind of chop and change without anybody noticing. So that's when I discovered tank tops underneath clothing. I wear it all the time. Actually, big fashion tip or clothing tip: if you wear a shirt, always wear a tank top underneath, because it means it sits nicer when you tuck it in. Top tip. But it also means that the shirt stays fresher for longer because you're sweating less. Now, because I was wearing layers, and it was like start of September, I think it was September 4th, and there was heavy lighting on us, and I was like embarrassed to be the first winner of a pattern challenge. I was bright red, and just embarrassed, but also giddy as anything, because I'd seen the show since I was 13. It was just amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. There's a lot going on, and I think you can see it in the shot. Yeah,
it did seem there was a lot, and your face did say.
I was like, yeah. Oh, okay, amazing. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Well, I mean, you set your trajectory with that, didn't you? I mean, pattern challenges clearly were your thing.
I loved them. They were so fun, and I think some people struggled with them. Not that much. And there's bits that I don't quite understand about other people's reaction to the pattern challenges, because I've heard, and I don't know if this has changed since previous season, but I've heard they used to be, or from the way that people describe them, a lot more like the technical challenge on Bake Off, where they just say sew a shirt, that kind of thing.
Right.
That's the impression that I get from some people saying it, but from my experience, they were bloody detailed. Like, it was quite hard to mess it up from my experience. Like, if you took your time to read it, you could do everything perfectly. Now, timing is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And also the pressure and skipping words and going through steps is a whole other thing. But I didn't struggle with that because I've done a lot of exams in my life for my degree. Like, that was fine. I had to read those details, so I didn't struggle with that at all. And I really enjoyed the process. So it's just something that I think I was just kind of naturally going to thrive at, because it's something that I'd done before with maths exams,
Yeah.
and being able to read that, and they are really explicit. Like, I think when we did the hat, the sports cap,
Yeah.
it said on the brim when you're going, I remember this specific detail, I was like, oh, well, they're really telling us what to do here. They said when you're going around the curve, change to a shorter stitch because it will make it easier. I was like, they didn't need to say that, but they did. I think they want us to succeed at these pattern challenges.
Yeah.
So they made them really explicit, and I was grateful for that, because I love following instructions.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like Lego, it's adult Lego. Maybe that's why I like sewing, it's adult Lego.
Do you think? I mean, you talked about the fact that you come from a maths background, and clearly patterns work for you.
Yes.
Do you think there's a correlation between the two things?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I like the details and the logic behind it all. One module in maths that we did, I think it was the first year, was logic, where you look at logical statements and what they actually mean. And you realise that a lot of that goes into instructions. So I've been writing patterns, some that I'm going to be releasing soon. They will be released soon, I swear. But I've been trying to make sure there's consistency with every single step that I'm saying. Does this make logical sense? Can it be interpreted in a completely different way? If it can, let's rewrite it. And I think that definitely goes into me reading patterns. But in terms of drafting patterns, I just love the drawing, and I love the maths behind it, and I love the construction and figuring out how everything works just by looking at it. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, and there were certain challenges in the made to measure, like when you drafted your own pattern, and like Patrick would come along and say, "Oh, you've drafted this," as if to say you're being a bit ambitious, but clearly that's your forte.
Well, I don't think it was like massively my forte, because I didn't really do that well in the made to measures. I'm very aware of that, but I wanted the extra challenge, because one, anything that I designed I couldn't find anything similar for in terms of a pattern. In fact, I knew that I wasn't going to find anything, so I didn't even bother looking. Two, I knew that I could probably get a better measurement if I did it drafted, though the block that I ended up using was the wrong type of block for my models, so the bar studs were about an inch too high, but is what it is. But I didn't think it was that ambitious. It just meant that I didn't have time to practice anything. I just kind of had to trust myself, and I'd say like 5 times out of 5 it worked. Other 5 times out of 5 it looked good enough that it didn't really matter that it didn't fit perfectly. And then sometimes it just didn't look good, and I'm okay with that.
Now, something as a external observer looking at it, the things that I find really quite stressful is the scramble when you're trying to find, like when you go for the pattern challenge and you've got to find the right fabric.
Oh yeah.
And it seems like everybody dives on the haberdashery section, and it's a case of, I like the look of that, and grab it, and in a split second you could just completely go down the wrong alleyway and pick the wrong kind of fabric that's going to cause real problems for you. How did you approach that?
It's an absolute war out there. You get Sarah saying your challenge starts now, and remember I said earlier, she says that about 3 times.
Yeah.
So the first time you're like, okay, which fabric can I go for? You find the beeline, and then you also have a look at the other bees and like, where are they going to go? It's not actually that competitive. We all kind of look out for each other. But I think there was one time when I wanted this fabric one week. It was for the zero waste workwear shirt.
Yes.
I wanted the fabric and I got the fabric that I ended up using for the dungarees pattern challenge the week after. And I went for it, got it, and it was 10 centimetres too short for the workwear jacket, so I had to put it back and pick another one. Next week, for the dungarees challenge, I was like, I'm using that fabric because I wanted it last week. I couldn't use it last week. I'm going to get it. And I managed to grab it just before Gaynor reached for it. I think like the main part of a pattern challenge is picking the right fabric, and you've got to make sure you go and get the right one. If it's not the right one, you're doomed from the start. I think Safi had that problem with the first challenge that she did, with the, what's it called? Oh, we did tie front blouse.
Yes.
She picked like a satin, which just wouldn't work. Wouldn't work for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess if you've got a lot of experience in your back catalogue that you can make an educated guess about what's the right thing to do, that's key, really.
Well, I don't really make many dresses though.
No.
But I love poring over fabrics, poring over fabric books. I've got a couple of books that are just textile encyclopedias of different fabrics. And I find that really interesting, picking the right one. But generally, you just need something that's going to press well and look good on a mannequin. Also, you need something that's not going to fray as you work with it, because we didn't finish any of the seams on the inside of the garments, which stressed me out when we were doing it. That was quite insane, like not finishing any of the seams.
Went against the grain a bit for you.
Oh, I hated it. There's some of the garments which are like the workwear shirt, because I was like, I will wear that. When I got it back, I unpicked the bits that I needed to overlock all the edges with only a 1 centimetre seam allowance, which was tough. And then sewed it back together. Yeah.
Well, talking about things not fraying,
Yeah.
a paper dress. That was
fun.
It was stunning.
They sent us, I think it was like 6 or 7 months after, they sent us a little...
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, they sent us a picture of the diagram of it. I have got somewhere, if you'd like to see, I've got the actual book that I drew it out in, and all the different ideas, and I can talk you through that.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
I think it's under here. Maybe. Bear with me. There we go. So this is the notebook that I did all my designs in. And you can see the maths and the instructions. These are the vague instructions that I did for sewing the garments. You can see there's probably about 5 steps in there. And then just break down, and you can see all the diagrams that I did behind. This was the Versace inspired dress, so all the circle skirts, and I had to make them very specific so that they fall a specific way. And this was how I drafted the Cholik outfit. Originally I had these really nice drapey sleeves. That was my initial design for the denim
jeans,
dress.
Yeah, my friend's jeans.
And then that was my little cowboy outfit.
Toy Story inspired.
Yeah, I just did a little sketch of it the night before. But then when we get to the paper dress, you can probably see... Yeah, so my first idea was I just wanted a fabric dress that was pop art inspired, and it had these kind of balloon puff sleeves, a bit like the Grayson Perry dress.
Yes, yeah.
I knew what kind of colour palette I wanted. I didn't know what exactly designs were. And then I went into more detail about kind of how I wanted to look. I thought maybe more like it's like basically imagine like a square rectangle with armholes, a bit like a kimono, then seams down the middle that cinch around your body. That's what I thought. I thought that won't work with paper. And then I came with the idea of just a simple A-line dress. And I was originally going to have the speech bubble attached to the dress. I'm so glad it was a handbag, just because it was the best handbag that I've ever seen. If anybody's not familiar, it was a terrible handbag, but I loved it. And then I had to figure out how it was all going to work together. So it ended up being this semicircle shape where I broke down all the parts and designed the colours so that they wouldn't be in the same place when they matched up. And then I did kind of a technical one. And then, that was it. That's how I ended up drafting it.
That's remarkable. It's clear it was a feat of engineering.
Oh, it was so fun.
But seeing the drawings, the technical drawings that you put there, it was incredible. And the way it just, it hung, just beautiful. And the colours.
Oh, I loved it so much. You wouldn't get that colour with fabric, though.
No.
You wouldn't get that colour with fabric. So I'm so glad that I did it with paper. For obviously the story behind it, but the look that it gave it that pop art look, and I don't think you could have achieved anything like that with fabric.
No.
It was, I love that. And what I was really interested about it was the way that I had to sew it, because of all the crisscross black lines for the borders, and because it wasn't like your typical construction where there's side seams. There was only in the drafting there was a side seam, but there wasn't an actual side seam. I had to sew it from the top down. So if you imagine, like, if you've ever knitted a jumper from top down, I know that's how you do it. That's how I had to construct the dress. So it meant that it kind of spiraled together in the seams, which was just so fun and so interesting to do. Really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. I can remember seeing the bit where Patrick and Esme come over to see what you're doing, and you're talking about the fact that you had to put interfacing, obviously, behind the crepe paper to give it the strength to do it. Do you think they believed that you were going to be able to pull it off?
I don't know. Patrick's very hard to read. Esme's like, yeah, go for it. I think that comes with being a fashion teacher. And she would do some wild stuff in her time. So she was like, yeah, sure. Patrick was like, okay. sure, good luck. Full knowing that if I effed it up at the end of the episode, it will be a full arc, exactly like 2 weeks after for the 2030s inspired outfit. You can see how they do the edit, like in either way. They make it so that it can, if it goes one way or if it goes the other way, it looks good or bad.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I want to do it. If it ends, I'm just proud of myself because I've given it a go. And I think, obviously, everyone who goes on that show, they are competitive, right? Whether they say they're competitive or not, there must be some sort of competitiveness in them because otherwise they wouldn't go on a sewing show. And I am very competitive. I think being the youngest of three just makes you quite that. But also, I just love testing myself. I love pushing myself and having a good time. And I wanted to make sure that if I went on that show, I would go in doing the best of what I could do.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did that. And that paper dress, I was like, if I leave, I want to be proud. I think that was my main thought process on every single week. Like, if I leave this week, I want to be proud of myself. And I was. I was. Every single week.
Quite rightly. Yeah. It was an incredible series to watch. And you were so strong, you know, as a competitor.
You're listening to Making Stitches, a podcast celebrating creative crafts and inspiring makers. This podcast is supported by the Making Stitches shop on Etsy, where you can find Making Stitches podcast tote bags, badges and stitch markers, along with a few of my crochet patterns for sale too. Just search for Making Stitches shop on Etsy. Now back to more creative chat.
Part about doing it?
It was working a full-time job while doing it, so we probably had like 3 to 4 days between each day of filming, and most of that fell on a weekday. So while some people didn't have jobs and retired, some people managed to take more time out of their job. Some of us had to work full-time jobs while we were doing it, and having to do the deadlines for these made-to-measures, practice them if you could, and then do it in front of a camera where you'd have a day start and you wake up at 5:30 and end the day at, like, you'd be in bed by 10:30 and then do it over again and then have a break day and then do it over again. That was so hard. It was so hard. And I think people, the Facebook trolls, they forget that. And it makes it so hard, like when you see those kind of comments, just people being nasty, like, you have no idea how hard that was, even just to wake up in the morning and actually do it. It was amazing, wouldn't change it for a thing, but my God, that was the hardest bit. I thoroughly enjoyed it though. But it meant that I didn't have time to practice any of my major measures.
Wow.
I think the only ones I practiced was the first two.
Goodness me.
It was like draft and just pray for the best.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of them didn't work amazingly, is because I drafted it, I was like, right, that'll do.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have time to practice it.
Yeah. Well, you can only work with what you can work with, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
There's only so many hours in the day. What would you say was your highlight of the whole experience?
Just meeting everyone, the amount of fun we just had, and making 11 new best friends. It was just a great experience. I love them all so much.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, it's clear to see when, it does shine through, despite edits that might kind of try and, well, I mean, it's a competition, so they're trying to make sure there's a competitive element to it. But it's clear, and certainly when you see social media posts from various different bees from different series, there is definitely a shared experience that brings people together, isn't there?
I think everyone tries to look after each other. So the first Knit and Stitch event that I went to in London, saw Tilly in the Buttons, and went to her stand. I said, Tilly, can I just sit down? She was like, yeah, come in. She got me a stool and sat down, and then someone came up to the stool. Oh, yeah, you're Kit, can I get a photo? I was like, no, not right now, please. I just need a break. But everyone looks out for each other, and it's really, really sweet. It's just nice having people that you can talk to about these things and got that shared experience. It's great. It's like a little sub-community, a little private club. It's kind of cool. But they just look out for each other. It's great.
That's amazing. So That was last year. And
Yeah, it was actually 2 years ago now,
Oh,
the filming.
of course, yes,
Yeah.
yes, because it's made so far in advance. What's it like sitting on that secret, waiting for it to
God,
be?
Yeah, it was really hard keeping that a secret. I'm in a choir, which is like every week, and I had to take like 2 months out, 3 months out. And I was like, Kit, where have you gone? I was like, I've just been doing things. I've got a project on. I've got a project. And they're like, okay. And then some people figured it out. Because it was delayed for so long compared to other series, we had to sit on it for even longer. And then I also had people saying, "Oh, you should apply to Sewing Bee." I was like, "Yeah, no, it's not for me. It's not for me." And then a week later, it comes out. I'm like, "Kit, you said it." I said, "I couldn't say anything. I'm so sorry."
Oh, that's so funny. So you alluded to the fact that you're designing patterns and they will be released soon. That is your next step then, is it?
Yeah. So I'm releasing kind of a crossbody bag, a tote bag, and a workwear jacket. It's the same workwear jacket that you've probably seen me 1,000 times in on my Instagram. I've got like loads of them because I've been testing it a lot. And the idea is just your staples in your wardrobe, easy, medium, intermediate instructions, just so you can really get to grips of just basic sewing. And what I'm trying to do with these patterns is go into really specific detail so that people understand why you do certain things. Because I think with a lot of patterns, you don't understand why you do certain things. There are some really great ones out there that do show you why, but I think to become a better sewer or sewist, you need to understand why you're doing something. Same with knitting, same with crochet. And that's what I'm trying to achieve with these patterns. I also struggle with patterns out there that just aren't tailored to what I want to do. I don't really particularly want to wear dresses. They don't look that great on me. And a lot of the sewing patterns out there are just dresses. Or just things that aren't meant for a more masculine form, and that's just not for me. So I want to bring out something that, and encourage more masculine people to try out sewing, and something that really will work for them.
Yeah, fill a gap in the market.
Fill the gap in the market, but also just do something that encourages people to get into the market as well.
If somebody is considering it and really likes the idea of it but doesn't know where to start, what advice would you have for them? What's a good gateway thing to make?
I think something that you're going to make and you're going to wear, and it's going to remind you that you liked making it and you can be proud of it. I think the best thing is I taught my mate how to sew. So lots of people have different reasons for sewing, and lots of people approach things very differently. I'm quite methodical. I'm quite scientific about it in the approach and testing and seeing what works better. Some people are like, I will make something once and I will make it fabulous. I don't care if it's the best thing that's sewn ever. I just want it to look great. Both are completely valid. I'd say for the first ones like me, the best thing would be to make something that you're going to wear a lot or use a lot. Best thing is like a bag or a tote bag. It shows you how to do a straight stitch. It shows you how to do like bar tacks. It can show you how to do linings. It shows you how pockets work. It shows you all these different techniques. And then if you move to something like a crossbody bag, which is what I'm trying to do, it shows you how to install a zip, how to insert straps, do quite more intricate sewing because it's a lot of a smaller scale. And then you can move up to something like a jacket, which shows you how to set in sleeves. Again, picking up on those pockets, try a collar, very simple collar construction. So I say start with something small that you're going to use a lot and then expand out there. One way that I learn is I just pore over books, old sewing books. I'm just going to reach behind me so my sofa might creak. But I've got a couple that my great-grandmother used that my mother gave to me. So I've got two here. One is standard processes in dressmaking, not really applicable for me, but it shows you the basics of construction. So this is when a famous quote from me, I think, on the show is, "I don't need a pattern to sew this." And you don't, right? If you know how something is constructed, you can look at a pattern. Obviously, I did use a pattern in the show. I'm not that dumb. Like, I did read it. But you don't need a pattern to understand how something is made. If it's got all the instructions, if they're labelled correctly, you can figure it out. And that's because if you read how to do everything. It shows you how to. So I'm just flicking through this book now, and it will show you how to make bias binding, the correct ways to do any facing or hemming. It also shows you the correct way to. It will show you the correct way to set in a sleeve, and it will take you through the processes of what to do first. So you'll start with the front, then do the back, and then attach at the shoulders, and then attach at the sleeves, or do the side seam and then set in the sleeves, and then you finish with hems and buttons, right? And then, so this is like the processes, this book here. And I learnt a lot from that. And then this one is model needlework. I think I posted it on my Instagram, and like 5 people messaged me saying that they bought this book.
Fantastic.
But this was like 1924 or something. I've just got like a little printout here from a magazine from the 80s on how to insert a zip.
Oh, wow.
Which is lovely, so I've kept that in there. And in here, it's pictured things on how to do very specific, detailed aspects. So I've just flicked to a page which is tailoring tacks, shows you how to do tailoring tacks, and then how to add in worked loops, really old hand sewing techniques. And it again, this is how I've learned how to do that construction from the core. So like, if you can do all of this, you can do everything else. Have you seen that advert about the Royal Navy? Like, if you can do Meccano, you can fix a bike. If you can fix a bike, you fix a lorry. If you can do a hand sewn buttonhole, why can't you set in a sleeve? Yeah, that kind of thing. So that's how I've learned.
So, do you have a time scale for your patterns?
God. Well, so the first pattern for the tote bag's going to be out soon. I just need to get some mates to test it. So that's exciting. I'm going to just do them one after the other. So that'll be coming out soon. I'm doing my sister's wedding dress at the moment, which is really intense. Wow. You can see the silk over there in that white packaging. Yes. I was down in London actually this past couple of days, and I stayed at my sister's and tried on the bodice with her. We've gone through like 3 iterations. So we messed around and found out with the bodice block, because I made a first one, which is a corset, and then made a second one, which was the kind of style that she wanted. She said it didn't fit, so I altered all the bits that we didn't like, and then tried it on her again, and it was just pushing and pulling in all the wrong places and just looked small on her. And then the same day I pulled the old one that I did, and we were like, actually it fits, it's so good, why don't we just use this one? I was like, I said, okay, great, yep, we'll do that one. Yep. Lovely. I need to take up the sleeves. We might need to put some cups in there, but we'll figure it out. It was my first time doing corsetry. Yeah, wow. So gave it a go, and we've got there. Got there. Have you got, is there a very tight deadline for this? Or it's August. Right, okay. Yeah, so I've got some time, so is it April now? Yeah, so April now, it's got to be ready by August. Hopefully I'm going to be doing it in the next couple of months, just so it's out of the way, because I've got other stuff to do. So yeah, that's exciting though. I'm not a dress person. Yeah. Like the first dress that I probably only did 2 dresses before going on the bee. Wow. Never really do dresses, but that's my thing. Like, if you know how things are constructed, you don't need to actually do them. Like, I've understitched on a tote bag, so I know how to understitch on a collar. I've done darts in a shirt. I've done pleats in a shirt, so I know how to do it on a dress. That kind of thing. So it's all transferable. Yeah, absolutely. But what a lovely thing to be able to do that for your sister. Yeah, she's getting it for free. She's planning my wedding if I ever have one. Excellent. Well, I think she owes you one. Yeah, I think she owes me one. I stress about planning things. So she's doing that for me if I get married. Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I think she definitely owes you. Yeah, she definitely does. For doing that. Yeah. My word. Well, Kit, it's been an absolute joy chatting to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me for the podcast. I've really enjoyed hearing your story. No, well, thank you very much. I think it's been great. Now, before leaving Kit's place, I was offered the chance to see some of the clothing created on the sewing bee. Well, I couldn't turn that down, could I? So this is just all my fabric. We'll get there eventually. There we go. So this is the ratty bag. This is the fast fashion bag. I love it. I thought it was so much fun. And what I loved about it was because it just looks awful. It just looks awful. And that's, I think, the point. Yeah. You know? And then this was actually one of my favourite garments. Oh, that was incredible. So architectural. It was so fun. So this is the taekwondo taekwondo doboks, and we had to make them into something with shape.
Yeah.
What was really fun about this is I didn't have time to bunch up all the sleeves. So you'll see on the show that it's kind of got a bit of a puff sleeve.
Yeah.
I just shoved it in there. I just rolled it up and it gave it a puff sleeve. I was like, it's not going to move, it's cotton, it's fine.
Trade secrets.
But absolutely loved that one. It made it into this kind of corset shape here.
Yeah,
which
it has
was
so much
fun.
structure to it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has a lot of structure to it. I think it's because the belts for taekwondo, they've got some sort of like thick canvas in them, which are really strong. Like they can stand up on their own. And then we've got the paper dress,
The famous.
which has got a tear in it actually now because I ironed it for a WI tour. But yeah, the paper dress.
Wow.
So you can kind of have a feel of that if you want to.
I will do.
Yeah. So it's just crepe
Goodness.
paper. Yeah. And then on the inside we've got that's what it looks like on the inside.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the pan pieces were fun for that.
And your seam allowances are spot on. They're so exact.
Oh,
But I guess
maybe.
being a jigsaw as it is, it needed to be really,
Do
didn't
you know
it?
what? I did grow up doing jigsaws, so maybe that's it. Fun. Then we had the jeans dress. Just move this out of the way so you can see everything. I absolutely love this one.
Yeah.
I was really
That's
proud of the
stunning.
back, so
Yeah.
it didn't fit around the boobs. That was the issue. I've still got the tape in there that was on the model, but it's just because again my pattern was just off, my block was off, but I still love it. I think
Yeah.
someone could wear it if they didn't really care about side boob.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's
But,
lovely.
Yeah, really, really fun. And it just had a nice flow to it because it had different levels of stretch and because it was a circle skirt as well. So you can kind of just see how stretchy that is.
Huge thanks again to Kit for speaking to me for Making Stitches. I loved hearing all about Sewing Bee and seeing the stunning sketches and plans Kit had produced throughout the recording of the show. Unfortunately, that couldn't really be shared in an audio podcast, but you'll have to take my word for it. They were very impressive. You can find links to Kit's social channels in the show notes for this episode if you'd like to stay up to date on when Kit's new patterns are launched. That's all for this time. I'm going to be back again in 2 weeks' time with a chat looking back at the history of knitting and crochet. If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please share it with anyone who you think would like to hear it too. And to make sure you don't miss out on any future episodes, please subscribe or follow Making Stitches wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks so much for listening. It's been lovely to have your company. Until next time, do take care of yourself and enjoy your crafting.